Tonight we're celebrating one of our most successful songwriters whose love affair with words is both irrepressible and inexhaustible, lyricist Sir Tim Rice. The man who took Jesus Christ from the page to the stage and crowned his talent with the Lion King. Flashback to the 60s. Tim Rice, legal intern and wannabe pop star, meets Andrew Lloyd Webber, prolific young composer. A legendary partnership is born and Tim becomes a superstar writer. Tonight, some classics from Tim's songbook are performed by stars including Tom Chaplin, Gemma Arterton, Alexander Armstrong, Cynthia Erivo and Francis Raffel, Rob Brydon, Sophie Ellis-Bextor, Roger Daltrey, Laura Mvula, and Rufus Wainwright.
Wow. Now, Tim, let's begin with the question you always get asked at school: what do you want to be when you grow up? Now, neither of us have grown up, really, but did you have an answer to that when you were at school?
Well, not a really decent answer. I was supposed to be doing something very respectable, the law or accountancy or the church, but and I did have a go at the law, but what I really wanted to do secretly was to get into the pop world, and I fancied myself as a pop star, and I still do sometimes.
Now, I've got a letter here, Tim, or a copy of a letter that you wrote, which was quite important in your life. It says, "Dear whoever it is," will be revealed at the end, "I've been given your name. Mr. Elliot told me you were looking for a with-it writer of lyrics for your songs. And as I've been writing pop songs for a short while now, and particularly enjoy writing the lyrics, I wondered if you consider it worth your while meeting me." Who was that to?
Well, that, of course, was Andrew Lloyd Webber. And I was recommended him by Desmond Elliott, book publisher. And the first thing I thought, Andrew Lloyd Webber, he'll have to change his name if he's going to make it. But when I went round to meet him, I realized I was in the presence of a very, very talented young musician.
What did he play you?
Well, he said, "How do you do? My name's Andrew Lloyd Webber. I've written 8 musicals. Here's one of them." And he just sat down and began playing wonderful tunes. And I thought, I ought to get in on this.
How early in the relationship did Superstar emerge?
I guess it was probably 2 years after we'd been writing and failing with other projects that we finally got going on Superstar. But no one wanted to know. We had to do it as a record instead of a show. And that was a very last-minute, desperate resort. But in fact, that was what made it much better, because it was more rock. Doing it on record really made Superstar the hit it was.
Had you got any idea of the impact it was going to have and how it was going to change your lives?
No, obviously not. You don't expect that sort of success. I mean, even now, one is very grateful if something works. And that worked in a big, big way. And it was good timing. It was a good idea, although we didn't think it was at the time when everybody said, no, we don't want to do it. And we were very lucky.
Well, I think it's time we heard some music. Our first guest is no stranger to creating a hit. His award-winning musical, Matilda, is playing to packed houses in the West End and on Broadway. He first sang Judas in his family living room. The rest is history. Singing Heaven on Their Minds from Jesus Christ Superstar, please welcome musician, composer, actor, comedian and writer, Tim Minchin.
My mind is clearer now. At last, all too well. I can see where we all soon will be. If you strip away the myth from the man, you will see where we all soon will be. Jesus, you started to believe the things they say of you. You really do believe this talk of God is true. And all the good you've done will soon get swept away. You've begun to matter more than the things you say. Listen, Jesus, I don't like what I see. All I ask is that you listen to me. And remember, I've been your right-hand man all along. But you have set them all on fire. They think they found the new Messiah. And they'll hurt you when they find they're wrong. I remember when this whole thing began. No talk of God, then we called you a man. And believe me, my admiration for you hasn't died. But every word you say today just gets twisted round some other way. And they'll hurt you if they think you've lied. Nazareth, your famous son, should have stayed a great unknown, like his father Carvin would. He'd have be good. Tables, chairs, and oaken chests would have suited Jesus best. He'd have caused nobody harm, no one alarm. Listen, Jesus, do you care for your race? Can't you see we must keep in our place? We are occupied. Have you forgotten how far down we are? I am frightened by the crowds, for we are getting much too loud. And they will crush us if we go too far. If we go too far. Listen, Jesus, to the warning I give. Please remember, I just want us to live. But it's sad to see our chances weakening with every hour. All of your followers are blind. They've too much heaven on their minds. It was beautiful, but now it's sour. Yes, it's all gone sour. Listen, Jesus, to the warning I'll give. Please remember that I want us to live. Come on, why won't he listen to me? Oh, so it's gone sour.
Thank you. Thank you, Tim. Thank you very much. All your lyrics are so simple and so deceptively simple, aren't they?
But I'm trying to, always with characters, trying to make it that more or less you could read them and they would work as speech.
We're going to hear I Don't Know How to Love Him. Did it come to you straight away, or?
No, the original lyric I wrote for this tune was called Kansas Morning. And obviously it wasn't in Superstar. And it was a very bad lyric when we were trying to sell this beautiful tune and my bad lyric as a pop song. And nobody wanted to know because the lyric was so awful. But when we came to write Superstar, Andrew said, well, I've got that wonderful tune, Kansas Morning. And I wrote a new lyric for it, and it was a better lyric. And the song became a hit.
It all came together. Well, let's hear it. I Don't Know How to Love Him. And to sing it, we're thrilled to have an artist from the James Bond film Quantum of Solace, Gemma Arterton. Is it hard to write for a woman?
No, I think it's interesting, really. I think blokes don't normally like revealing too much of their emotions, so it's a good way of doing it by doing it through what you conceive to be the eyes of a woman.
I'm going to reread all your feminine lyrics. When you hear a song, do you know if it's going to be a hit or not?
No.
You don't. Isn't there some story about you entering a competition, though, at some point?
Well, yes, I entered a competition in The Sun, somebody else's copy, obviously. And it was just before we'd had success with Superstar, and the idea was to prophesy the top 10 in a month's time. And I prophesied that Lee Marvin's Wandering Star, which at that time was number 48 or something on the chart, I put it down as number 1 on a hunch, mainly because I loved the lyrics of Alan J. Lerner. And it went to number 1, but I didn't get all the others right in the top 10, so I was a little bit disappointed. And then I got a call from The Sun, or a letter rather, saying, "Congratulations, Tim, you have won first prize, which was to go to Luxembourg and be a disc jockey for 20 minutes.
Wow. Wow.
And then after that, I heard nothing for about 6 weeks, and I rang up The Sun, and I said, "When am I going to Luxembourg?" And they said, "Oh, you don't really want to go, do you?" I said, "Yes, I do." And they got the gardening correspondent reluctantly to accompany me to Luxembourg. And when I got to Luxembourg, they said, "Who are you and why are you here?" But I got on air, and I think I played Superstar by Murray Head.
You slipped it in?
Yes, well, it had just come out, and Tony Prince, I think, was the DJ. And I said, "Look, this is a great record." And he said, "Well, it's not bad." And we played it. Luxembourg were good to us. The British radio didn't want to know, but Luxembourg did.
Let's hear that song now, the title song from Jesus Christ Superstar. And here to sing it, an absolute superstar who sang the role of Judas in 1996. Believe it or not, Roger Daltrey. Thank you. Thank you, Roger. As a child, were you Meccano mad? Were
No,
you?
typewriter, that was my favorite toy. My mum's typewriter, fantastic. I couldn't keep, that I had to play with. I loved it.
Really?
And in the end, I wrecked it because I was just bashing away at it from the age of 4. And eventually, I inherited it. And it still worked. And she got an electric one. It was a big boost.
Did you go and watch the Disney movies of the day?
Yes, I loved the Disney films. Really loved them. I must have seen Peter Pan, Cinderella, all those great early ones, Snow White, Bambi, Dumbo, literally dozens of times. I absolutely adored them.
So how was it you ended up working for Disney?
Well, animation had faded away a bit in the 70s and 80s, and Jeffrey Katzenberg and Michael Eisner were determined to bring the Disney brand back in a big way, and they did that with Alan Menken and Howard Ashman, who wrote 2 beautiful scores for Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast, which were mega hits. And they were so successful, they then wanted to do more than one film at once. So while Alan was working on Aladdin, I was brought in to work on Lion King, and I was told, you can have any composer you want. So I said, well, Elton John? And they said, all right, we'll get him. I said, you won't get him, but they got him.
And that's how you ended up working with that?
Once I got Elton, I always say the greatest favor I did Disney was to get Elton John into the team, because he wrote just a wonderful, wonderful score for The Lion King.
I think it's time we heard one. Disney's classic love song from The Lion King, 1994 Academy Award winner for Best Song. Can still be heard on the West End stage after its premiere 15 years ago. Tonight, sung by Keane's lead singer, the sublime-voiced Tom Chaplin.
There's a calm surrender to the rush of day, when the heat of the rolling world can be turned away. An enchanted moment, and it sees me through. It's enough for this restless warrior just to be with you. And can you feel the love tonight? It is where we are. It's enough for this wide-eyed wanderer that we got this far. And can you feel the love tonight? How it's laid to rest. It's enough to make kings and vagabonds believe the very best. There's a time for everyone, if they only learn that the twisting kaleidoscope moves us all in turn. There's a rhyme and reason to the wild outdoors, when the heart of this star-crossed voyager beats in time with yours. It's where we are. It's enough for this wide-eyed wanderer that we got this far. But can you feel the love tonight? How it's laid to rest. It's enough to make kings and vagabonds believe the very best. It's enough to make kings and vagabonds believe the very best.
Gorgeous. Thank you. Thank you, Tom. I've got a book here that may bring back some memories. There's some amazing illustrations in here. Does that look familiar at all to you? Is that something you had at home?
Yeah, we did, the Wonder Book of the Bible. This was, I mean, I've often said I use this for the story of Joseph, but I did also go back to Genesis. I mean it's my favorite school story from the Bible, and I never dreamt that it would lead to so much good fortune for me. But this was the book. This was the book where I was browsing through it for the best Bible story that we could have a go at, because we were writing for a kid's school. And I thought, yes, Joseph, that really works. It's a great story.
Do you remember writing Any Dream Will Do?
Yes, I do remember. It was a very catchy tune. The first lyric I wrote for it was called "I Fancy You," and it was going to be for Herman's Hermits, and we thought Herman will love this one. I fancy you. I think you're lovely, but it never got to Herman, to his great relief, I think.
You talk about it being a jaunty melody, a jaunty tune, but the lyrics are, there's some sadness in the lyrics.
It's rather a melancholy lyric.
I'm just going to quote a bit. Far, far away, someone was weeping, but the world was sleeping. Any dream will do. Oh, that's quite sad, isn't it?
Well,
is there a sad side to you?
I guess so. I mean, not tonight, I hope, but yeah, now and then, occasionally. Well, everybody is, I hope, a mixture of happiness and sadness. This is getting philosophically rather corny, but in that song, I think the very pretty tune that Andrew wrote, coupled with a slightly melancholy lyric, made it a stronger song, and people don't get that it's sad, really, because of the lovely tune.
Well, I think we should hear it. Any Dream Will Do was a #1 hit, and here to sing it tonight with his own rendition, a big welcome for Devon-born folk singer, songwriter, and multi-instrumentalist, Seth Lakeman and his viola.
I closed my eyes, drew back the curtain to see for certain what I thought I knew. Far, far away, someone was weeping as the world was sleeping, any dream will do. I wore my coat with golden lining, bright colors shining, wonderful and new. And in the east, the dawn was breaking as the world was waking, and the dream will do. crash of drums, a flash of light. My golden coat flew out of sight. Colors faded into darkness. I was left alone. May I return to the beginning as the light is dimming and the dream is too. The world and I, we are still waiting, still hesitating. Any dream will do. A crash of drums, a flash of light. My golden coat flew out of sight. Colors faded into darkness. I was left alone. May I return to the beginning as the light is dimming and the dream is too. The world and I, we are still waiting, still hesitating. Any dream will do.
Back to the day job. Do you like making lists? Are you a good list man?
I do nothing else in life but make lists.
Really?
Yes. I get up in the morning, I make a list of, well, I've got a huge running list. It's been going since 1964 of things to do, and some of those things have been on the list since 1964.
Well, in Joseph, there is a list song, isn't there, which is a well-known technique for lyric writers,
well,
which is
coat of many colours.
Coat of many colours.
Yes, well, actually, I feel a bit of a cheat on that because we had a very good review, I think, in the Financial Times of all papers for the lyrics of Coat of Many Colours, and the critic listed all the colours and said, you know, red and yellow and green and orange and blue and purple and whatever it is, and he said, this is pure poetry. Tim Rice is a genius. Actually, I hadn't written that. All I'd written was red and yellow and green and brown and blue, and the boys of Colic Court, we were added lots of colours themselves, so they should get the credit, but they won't be getting the royalties.
One of the key tools in a lyric writer's armory is rhyming.
Yes.
And are there any words that you found impossible to rhyme?
A piece I wrote with the late, great Stephen Oliver, a musical which was not wildly successful, called Blondel. We had a song in it which addressed this problem of rhyming. And Blondel is the court musician who's trying to write a song for King Richard, the Lionheart. And John, the evil, nasty Prince John, points out that Richard is a word that doesn't rhyme with anything. So he'd be much better off writing a song about John.
Let's hear the song No Rhyme for Richard. And here, to prove a point, is Pointless Alexander Armstrong.
There's no rhyme for Richard, which should be suitable. You won't find a rhyme that'll fit. When rhyming with Richard, a hit should be indisputable. Richard, my tip is to quit. But John, the problems are gone. Observe how the rhymes flow. It's a phenomenon. When you write your chanson, it's easy with John, a name with no rivals. Well, maybe Yvonne. Whereupon I'm lexicon. So poet, write on. For instance, there's venison and stone of scone. I'm sure you will concede that in 1189 there rhymes you may not need. My growing reputation from here to Runnymede gives you the chance to be the second venerable Bede. There's mastodon, automaton, and Don should not be missed. Hootsman, Peron, Pantechnicon, Gather Richard match this list. I see no use for skeleton, but on the other hand, the use of John with Paragon is something rather grand. There's silicon and Amazon and more at your command. A tarragon, accordion, iguanodon, decathlon, armageddon, Celine Dion, Jean Valjean, 24601, colon, Chiffon, Oberon, Cameron, Babylon. Tradition! Tradition! John Cooper, each time I swan dice on around this great kingdom, strap on, mere dicks are outshone. In comparison, moron, all others seem one. My name in itself will attract hangers on. So be gone to the hall where you write and erase every Richard in sight. Won't you shout it for John? Sing in unison. Let the rest be consigned to oblivion. And let no simple tongue say, well, what about wrong? 'Cause Ron's really wrong, and I am sheer John. I'm nothing but John, immaculate John. So poet, the time has come to spell it out away with subtle hints. Yes, I propose that you compose a tribute to your prince. A rose by any other name but John might smell as sweet. My time has come, prepare to strum. You'll love this job, you have the perfect subject. Me, go hit the quill, give me a thrill. You'll love this job. Charles Richards, obsolete. Why do you say?
Thank you. Thank you, Alexander. I should have counted the John rhymes there. There must
It's
have been
about 70 or 80, but I mean, the evil characters are always much more fun and easier to write for. I mean, Scar in Lion King, that song came quickest. That was a very quick one to write. I don't know what it is. It's about, nasty blokes. Something maybe I identify with them.
One of the things I know about you, and I think that lots of people do, is that you have a fantastic encyclopedic knowledge and love for the charts and all the songs that have gone into the charts.
Well, yes, only up to about Duran Duran's fourth single. I lost track of it really about the end of the 80s, I think. But I'm pretty good. If you can ask me questions up sort of 54 to 65, and I'll get them.
Very good. When did you first become aware of the ABBA phenomenon?
Well, Waterloo, obviously.
Did you watch the Eurovision that night?
I guess I've seen it so many times, I can't remember. But probably, yes. I mean, they were clearly very gifted. I mean, it was an unusually good record that was already being a hit before even the Eurovision.
Extraordinary that lyrics written in a second language.
Bjorn Ulvaeus is one of the best English lyric writers I know, and he's Swedish. I mean, some of those ABBA lyrics are just magnificent.
How did it come about that you worked with them?
Well, I was a very huge fan of Bjorn and Benny, and indeed all of ABBA by the 9th or 10th number one, as most of the world was. And I had this idea for a musical about the Cold War, based around chess, and it was romance, and it was inspired by the Bobby Fischer, Boris Spassky chess match in Iceland, which in 1972, at the height of the Cold War, it was very important. Even a chessboard in Iceland mattered in the Cold War. And the confusing thing was that the American guy, who was meant to be our guy, was a bastard, and the Russian guy, who was meant to be the enemy, was a jolly nice chap.
That was the original idea was yours?
Yeah, and I took it to Bjorn and Benny. I thought, well, they'll never want to do it, but I got them just at the right time. They were thinking that ABBA was almost run its course, and they liked the idea.
Wonderful.
I mean, it was a terrific thrill for me to work with them.
Well, let's hear some songs from Chess. I Know Him So Well is a classic, unforgettable duet from Chess about two women loving the same man. Another number one hit here. And to sing it tonight, please welcome Francis Raffel and Cynthia Erivo.
Nothing is so good, it lasts eternally. Perfect situations must go wrong, but this has never yet prevented me wanting far too much for far too long. Looking back, I could have played it differently. One few more moments, who can tell? But it took time to understand the man. Now at least I know him well. Wasn't it good?
Oh, so good.
Wasn't he fine?
Oh, so fine.
Isn't it madness? He can be mine. But in the end, he needs a little bit more than me. More security.
His fantasy and freedom.
I know him so
No one in your life is with you constantly. No one is completely on your side. And though I'd move my world to be with him, still the gap between us is too wide. Looking back, I could have played it differently. Learned to
Thank you. Thank you. And now, someone else's story from Chess, a poignant ballad sung tonight by Cynthia Erivo.
Long ago, in someone else's lifetime, someone with my name who looked a lot like me came to know a man and made a promise he only had to say, and that's where she would be. Lately, although the feelings run just as deep, the promise she made has grown impossible to keep, and yet I wish it wasn't so. Will he miss me if I go? In a way, it's someone else's story, someone else's life as taking part at all. Yesterday, the girl that I was fond of finally could see the writing on the wall. Sadly, she realized she'd left him behind, and sadder than that, she knew he wouldn't even mind. And though there's nothing left to say, would he listen if I stay? It's all very well to say, "You fool, it's now or never." I could be choosing no choices whatsoever. I could be someone else's story, in someone else's life, and he could be mine. I don't see a reason to be lonely. I should take my chances further down the line. And if that girl I knew should ask my advice, oh, I wouldn't hesitate. She needn't ask me twice. Go now, I tell her that for free. The trouble is the girl is me. The story is the girl is me.
Tim, I'm just going to take the liberty of quoting a bit of your lyric from the next song. She is eternal, long before nations' lines were drawn, when no flags flew and no armies stood, my land was born. This was about the Cold War, but it's scarily relevant today, isn't it?
Well, I guess so. I mean, that song, the anthem, is particularly about the fact that it's hard for people to cast aside where they're from, and indeed, people don't want to. And it was inspired a bit by the hymn I learnt in my childhood, I Vow to Thee, My Country. It's that sort of emotion I wanted to get. And Benny and Bjorn came up with a pretty strong tune for it.
Well, let's hear it. Singing the showstopper anthem, where the Russian chess master Anatoly explains why he's deserting his country, is the extremely charismatic and brilliant actor-singer, Julian Ovenden.
and possess. Conquer my country's heart, they rise to fame. She is eternal, long before nation lines were drawn, when no flags flew and no army stood, my land was born. And you ask me why I love her through wars, death, and despair. She is the constant. We who don't care, and you wonder, will I leave her? But how? I cross over borders, but I'm still there now.
Thank you. Thank you, Julian. What was the first record you ever bought?
Tommy Steele's Singing the Blues on Decca.
Which was a cover, wasn't it?
It was a cover of Guy Mitchell. I admire Guy Mitchell, but I have to say that Tommy Steele was a rare example of the British cover being better than the American original, because Tommy had a real rock and roll, and he slurred the words a bit. You know, oh, I'll be singing the blues. And Guy Mitchell was very sort of straight. He was a lovely guy, but he wasn't rock and roll, and Tommy then was.
And Elvis was a bit of a slurrer too, wasn't he?
Elvis was, Elvis. I mean, he was Elvis.
Well, I have to tell you, I met Elvis. I actually met Elvis. Did you meet him?
I did, yes. Very, very briefly. Shook his hand for about, well, obviously not for that long, but I mean, the conversation that we had with Elvis was very brief as we were leaving a very distinguished party, a post-Elvis Presley, post-Las Vegas concert party, and we made the mistake after he hadn't turned up for 3 hours of deciding to leave, and just as we were leaving, he came, and we were too overcome to say, well, actually, we don't have to go now, we'll stay. That was it, and we thought we'll meet him again, but we never did.
And you wrote a song for him?
Well, we did. We wrote two, really, specifically for Elvis. One which was not recorded by the King was called Please Don't Let Lorraine Come Down, and that was...
Sorry.
No, That was a song about a bloke living on the second floor of an apartment block, and there was a rather dodgy girl called Lorraine on the third floor, and he was trying to resist temptation, hence the title. But Elvis didn't like that one. So he recorded a song called It's Easy for You, which was a ballad which I kind of put Elvis's personal situation into. His marriage had broken up, and it was a ballad. Andrew wrote a lovely tune for it. It's almost a country song, really.
Well, let's hear it. Let's hear It's Easy for You, sung by a man who claims to know every single Elvis song. A big welcome, please, for Rob Brydon.
No pianist. There is piano. Good evening. There is piano in the song. Don't panic, Michael, Tim. I met a man in the wings who says he can play piano. Now, I don't know if he's telling the truth, but let's give him a chance. What was his name? Andrew Lloyd Webber.
You may not mind that it's over, but I've a different point of view. And even though I am shattered, it's easy for you. You don't have to face the music. You don't have to face the crowd. Just go back where you came from. You ain't even proud. I had a wife and I had children. I threw them all away. And now you tell me, you dare to tell me I should go back to them. What do you think I should say? I found it hard to leave them. Saddest thing I ever had to do. My problems hadn't started. It's easy for you. I had a wife and I had children. I threw them all away. And now you tell me, you dare to tell me I should go back to them. What do you think? What on earth do you think I should say? If you ever tire of the good life, call me in a year or two. I've no choice, I'll forgive you. It's easy for you. You only have to call me. It's easy for you. You only have to call me. It's easy for you.
terrible, terrible. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Well done, Rob. Thanks.
We must move on now to the final section, which is, of course, Evita.
I've heard of that one.
It's your third collaboration with Andrew, I think.
Well, yes, if you don't count the first one, the Likes of Us, which didn't really get anywhere at the time.
And you cast aside the Bible for once.
Yes, we switched to...
Where on earth did the idea come from?
Well, it came really from a radio program I heard in my car. I was late for a dinner and lost driving around streets somewhere in London. And I heard the beginning of a program about Eva Peron, and I thought, this sounds interesting. I knew a little bit about her. I can recall her from collecting stamps as a kid, and her face was on the Argentine stamps. And I knew she was dead, and that was about all I knew. But when I heard the beginning of this story, I thought, this is very interesting. And at the time, we were looking for something to follow up Superstar, which was a tough act to follow.
It certainly was. It's the most unlikely subject for a musical, it seems to me, but you pulled it off.
Yes, I often think that the obvious subjects for musicals, if they're very obvious, somebody would have already had a hit with them. And I think it's often the wacky left field ideas that work.
What you created in that show was a massive star role. I mean, the whole thing evolves on the personality and the drive and the performance of Evita. Today, I'm not sure you'd take a chance with an unknown, but you did take a huge gamble picking an unknown to play Evita and carry the whole show.
Well, Elaine Page was the unknown. She wasn't unknown in the business. She was unknown to the public at large, but she'd worked for 10 years in shows and musicals, and she'd been progressing up the stage to gradually take the second or third lead in one or two musicals. But the public didn't really know her, and she was brilliant. And she was 29, 30 at the time. She'd paid her dues, and she came through a competition of about 400 or 500 people. But we also had balancing Elaine. We had a brilliant performance from David Essex, who was then as well known as he is now, a wonderful performer. And so the combination of Elaine and David was, you know, for my money, unbeatable before or since. It's fantastic.
Hollywood then had its go with Evita.
It was very funny because Evita kept being taken on by some studio and we were paid in advance. And then the studio didn't do it. Then they were paid another advance.
Did they see it as a vehicle for a star?
I don't know. It just never quite happened.
The rumours were that Meryl Streep looked at it, Michelle Pfeiffer.
No, Warner's wanted to do it with Meryl Streep and all these artists. And it kept being, we were being paid all the time, but for the film not being done. And I remember David Land saying, ring up one morning, I've got terrible news, boys. Evita's going to be done. No more advances.
Let's take a moment and remind ourselves of the movie, one of my favourite clips.
But who is this Santa Evita? Why all this howling, hysterical sorrow? What kind of goddess has lived among us? How will we ever get by without her? She had her moments, she had some style. The best show in town was the crowd outside the Casa Rosada crying never Peron. But that's all gone now. As soon as the smoke from the funeral clears, we're all gonna see and how she did nothing for you.
Amazing change of pace there with the kind of the narrative song, you know, really telling the story.
Well, that was almost the first lyric I wrote. I think Andrew's score is flawless, frankly, on that one, and it's such wonderful variety, and yet it all hangs together as one piece of music. It's a terrific score.
I think one of the many phrases in your lyrics that live with me forever is another suitcase, another town, which is
Another hall.
Another hall. Sorry.
Another
Sorry.
It's all right.
This heartrending ballad from Evita on stage, sung by Perron's teenage mistress, Another Suitcase, Another Hall, was meant to be the show's big hit, peaking at number 7 in the charts in 1997. Now performed by the captivating singer-songwriter Sophie Ellis-Bextor.
don't expect my love affairs to last for long. Never fool myself that my dreams will come true. Being used to trouble, I anticipated, but all the same I hated. Wouldn't you? So what happens now? So what happens now? Where am I going to? Where am I going to? Time and time again, I've said that I don't care, that I'm immune to gloom, that I'm hard through and through. But every time it matters, all my words desert me, so anyone can hurt me, and they do. So what happens now? So what happens now? Where am I going to? Where am I going to? Call in 3 months' time and I'll be fine, I know. Or maybe not that fine, but I'll survive anyhow. I won't recall the names and places of this sad occasion, but that's no consolation here and now. So what happens now? So what happens now? Where am I going to? Where am I going to? Don't ask anymore.
Thank you, Sophie. Wonderful. Don't Cry for Me, Argentina. Did that come easily?
All except the title. I felt the first line wasn't right.
What was the first line?
Well, the original one, we had terrible titles, All My Fault, like It's Only Your Lover Returning, and All Through My Wild Days or something. I mean, they were bad. But I used the phrase, Don't Cry for Me, Argentina, earlier in the piece. It was in the funeral scene at the very beginning when the sort of dead Evita, if you like, or the ghost of Evita sings Don't Cry for Me, Argentina at the funeral. And that line just sounded so good on those notes that we said, well, let's put it in now, and if it doesn't work, we can change it if there's a show. But of course, it became the phrase of the piece and became a very big hit.
Amazing.
So we were stuck with it.
Wonderful. Well, with his own interpretation, please welcome Rufus Wainwright.
It won't be easy. You'll think it's strange when I try to explain how I feel, that I still need your love after all that I've done. You won't believe me. All you will see is a girl you once knew, although she's dressed up to the nines, at sixes and sevens with you. I had to let it happen. I had to change. Couldn't stay all my life down at hill, looking out of the window, staying out of the sun. So I chose freedom, running around, trying everything new, but nothing impressed me at all. I never expected it to. Don't cry for me, Argentina. The truth is I never left you. All through my wild days, my mad existence, I kept my promise. Don't keep your distance. And as for fortune, and as for fame, I never invited them in, though it seemed to the world they were all I desired. They were illusions, they're not the solutions they promised to be. The answer was here all along. I love you and hope you love me. Don't cry for me, Argentina. Have I said too much? There's nothing more I can think of to say to you. But all you have to do is look at me to know that every word is true.
Wow. Thank you, Rufus. Now, Tim, you're not going to like answering this question because I know you're a very modest man. I know you to be a very modest man, but how big is your trophy cabinet at home?
I would say that they're one for either being around a long time or just for turning up to the ceremony. But it's, I keep them in Cornwall. You know, people stare at them occasionally.
And you've got 3 Oscars, haven't you?
Yep.
So far.
Yes, Alan Menken has 8, so you know, I'm in League Division 2 compared with him.
But the first one was for Aladdin, wasn't it?
Yep.
And I think we're going to hear a song, the 1992 Oscar-winning song, A Whole New World, tonight, sung by Dinah Vickers and James Fox.
I can show you the world, shining, shimmering, splendid. Tell me, princess, now when did you last let your heart decide? I can open your eyes, take you wonder by wonder, over, sideways, and under, on a magic carpet ride, a whole new world, a new fantastic point of view. No one to tell us no, or where to go. Say we're only dreaming.
A whole new world, a dazzling place I never knew. But when I'm way up here, it's crystal clear that now I'm in a whole new world with you. Unbelievable signs, indescribable feeling, soaring, tumbling, freewheeling through an endless shining sky. A whole new world.
Don't you dare close your eyes.
100,000
Hold your breath,
things
it's
begin.
better.
I'm like a shooting star. I've come so far. I can't go back to where I used to be. Every turn sets a time.
A new horizon
Every movement, red letter, I'll chase them anywhere. There's time to spare. Let me share this whole new world with you.
A whole new world.
A whole new world.
That's where we'll be.
That's where we'll be.
Thrilling chase.
A wondrous place for you and me.
Thank you, Diana and James. Which of your songs do you think, which of your lyrics do you think is really going to stand the real test of time?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think if any stand the test of time, it'll probably be Joseph, because that's, you know, for children of all ages. And children, you know, there's a new generation every time appreciating it. And it doesn't really date at all. It's, you know, I mean, it's something which is just wonderful tunes and a good story, funny. I think that's the piece that will probably last longest, but who knows? It's up to my great-grandchildren to find that one up.
What's next for Tim Rice?
I don't know. I mean, you know, you listen to all this stuff and you think, quite difficult to top some of this, and maybe I should just retire quietly into the background.
We don't want you to retire, do we?
It wasn't a very convincing no.
Now, the song we're going to end with tonight is The Circle of Life.
Right.
How quickly did you write this?
Circle of Life, well, we had 2 goes at it. The first time for Circle of Life, I wrote a rather jaunty, slightly comic lyric, and Elton wrote a very nice, jaunty little tune, but it didn't have the oomph for the film, and it had to be something that was going to go over the opening titles. And the second lyric was because Elton likes the lyrics first. This is unusual. So I was supplying lyrics to Elton, and then I get a tune. And the second lyric, which was more or less the one that ended up, that was much heavier. And Elton wrote this wonderful tune in about an hour and a half.
Wow.
In the studio, and I was watching him do it. And halfway through, he was just playing the words. He'd had all these words on the day we arrive on the planet and all that. And he was playing it over and over again with slight variations in tune and just singing it along. It was wonderful. I mean, if you'd recorded the whole thing, you'd have a wonderful double album of one songs with the tune gradually changing and developing. And halfway through the session, he said, I need one more phrase, because he'd written this wonderful tune that ascends. And I said, on the path unwinding. I wasn't quite sure what I meant by that, but it just sounded right, and it fitted beautifully. And Elton finished the tune, as I said, in about an hour and a half from coming into the studio.
Let's hear it. How better to end a marvellous evening than with Laura Mvula and the choir in the Circle of Life. Thank you, Tim, for making tonight possible, and thank you for all your amazing, amazing lyrics, and we wish you well and look forward to your next project.
Thank you very much.
The day we arrive on this planet and blinking set into the sun, there is more to see than can ever be seen, more to do than can ever be done. There is far too much to take in here, to find that can ever be found. But the sun rolling high on the sapphire sky keeps great and small